The new school year about to be underway, we might as well take a look at the benefits of homeschooling, private schooling, seeking alternatives to the public school system, because we've known for a long time that it started its slow decline into degeneracy, and that was only accelerated thanks to the fact of the pandemic that's never going to end. Take a look at what Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser has been up to, forcing kids to get the jab, otherwise they can just be dumb and stupid and vote Democrat for the rest of their life. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this because, it's that time of year and we need to reinforce good values, good thinking structure for your kids or for yourself, even if you're seeking additional education that's out there. It continues to, according to Annie Holmquist, the proliferation of good coming out of the COOF pandemic, particularly regarding its effects on the education system and the students in it. Yes, the attempt to somehow transfer the traditional classroom to an online environment was a disaster that left many students bored and stunted the growth, at least when it comes to the mental capacity of generations that we will not know the full damage of for years to come. But for another story has emerged showing the pandemic misfire turned into a pandemic blessing. Caden Fritz is in Minnesota. And about to start the school year as a university freshman. Super sorry about that, going to university in Minnesota. Oh Lord, pray for me. But a couple of years ago, he was stuck at home during the pandemic. Just a little over half of his high school experience would have been online. Ponder that. He was just another bored high school student. Minnesota Fox News 9 reported. To counteract his boredom, Fritz started his own business. Hey, this kid rules! Beginning with pressure washing and moving on to custom deck building. Decks like for trucks, because you're also pressure washing, or decks as in like additions onto your homes, because both of them are sweet. Okay, teaching yourself a skill that's never going to go out of style. He now manages Fritz Construction, a company that employs 50 people. Why are you going to university then? That doesn't make any sense. Many of whom are his high school classmates. This kid rules. I love it. The construction company didn't just cure his boredom, it may have taught him some valuable life lessons, including navigating a lawsuit and building business credibility. Fritz's story seems remarkable. In a time that many young people struggle for the basic elements of adulting. I hate that term, and I'm sure everybody else out there does as well. I gotta do adulting today. I gotta be a grown-up today. Just worthless complaining makes me sick, such as buying a car, landing a job, or even doing his laundry. He wasn't doing that before, and he can build a mean two-tiered deck, but washing his own clothes, I guess, I don't know. He's probably, listen, if he's got 50 employees, he's got people to do stuff for him, superfluous things like that. In fact, his boredom drove him to do something great, and he may have never experienced that life-changing boredom had he remained in a traditional classroom. Yeah, imagine that. But regular school, the way that it was structured in the early 1900s in Chicago, in order to pump out better employees and not teach anybody anything useful. Take a look at the current curriculum and what's specifically in there for proof of concept on that one. Well-schooled kids have a low threshold for boredom. Former New York Teacher of the Year John Taylor Gatto wrote in his essay Against School. Well-schooled kids have a low threshold for boredom. Okay, they learn to be dependent on other individuals or objects such as the TV, computer, and cell phone. Okay, so escapism. School also trains children to obey reflexively, acting as employees and consumers rather than leaders and adventurers. Absolute facts right here. This guy is spitting the truth. Thus, pre-pandemic, nearly 100% of the U.S. student population sat in institutionalized school day after day, reading cookie-cutter textbooks, listening to their teachers drone on about hopefully things that are simply in the curriculum and not additional things like Marxism, Black Lives Matter, Antifa. All of that stuff was just merely a whisper off in the winds, but then we've seen, thanks to screen capture and thanks to kids also being home and having to learn through a computer with their parent in close proximity, what exactly are you learning about over there? Oh, nothing useful? we're going to go outside and pick rocks, because that'd be a better use of your time than just listening to some side-shaved whale tell you about the ills of being white. When students got bored, they just raised a ruckus, and someone came along, calmed them down, spoon-fed them busy work, and thrust an electronic device into their hands. Yeah, no, exactly. Or, if they're lucky enough, give them some happy pills, or some sedation pills for the young men who are just being young men. No, you're being too masculine. You need to calm down a little bit. Have some Ritalin there, Charlie. But when the pandemic hit, the boredom crutches of traditional school were gone. It was kids like Fritz wanted to escape the boredom. They had to create a new world for themselves. That entrepreneurial spirit is lacking in a bunch of kids. Maybe it's ingrained, or maybe it's just latent in a bunch of other kids that are a little bit more creative that's been suppressed. It's interesting to think about. Fritz may be one of those kids with a little extra drive and ambition, but who knows? Without the pandemic forcing him into traditional school settings, it may have been just another body warming a seat, ready to do as he was told. Yeah, potentially. And I'm sure that there are some kids that are out there, and if they weren't exposed to certain ideas, or maybe if they were, he would be in a similar situation. How many of the kids were like him, just waiting for somebody to put them to push them out of their comfort zone? More to the point, how can we help more kids like Fritz to escape and thereby release their personal creativity, which will in turn foster the economic and creative growth of our country? Yeah, and exactly. The easiest way and the most profitable way that you can create money in the 21st century, first and foremost, it's cryptocurrency by a long margin, a wide margin that's out there. And the second is starting a business. So, if you don't know crypto, and I don't know it from a hole in the wall, everybody's heard of Bitcoin, but do you know what Bitcoin is? Yeah, exactly. Do you know how to swing a hammer? Do you know how to employ yourself, give yourself purpose for the rest of your life? Fritz does. The first thing we must do, Gatto wrote, is to wake up to what our schools really are: laboratories and experimentation on young minds, drill centers for the habits and attitudes that corporate society demands. Contrary to what many have believed for years, mandatory education serves children only incidentally. Its real purpose is to turn them into servants. Wow, imagine that. This guy's saying, resist the slave mind. Is he going to get canceled like another bald-headed prophet that's out there? Just saying. Thankfully, the pandemic has alerted many parents to the soul-crushing elements of institutionalized education, and they're now pursuing other options for their children. Once parents have pulled their children out of the system, Gatto encourages them to help their children develop an inner life so that they will never be bored. Exactly. Find that thing. It starts with a P, purpose. There you go. Not what, younger, high school aged kids are, pursuing out there. That's for the other channel. This is done by urging them to take on serious material, the grown-up material in history, literature, philosophy, music, arts, economy, theology, all the stuff school teachers know well enough to avoid. Yes, because a thoughtful mind is much more difficult to control. What were the slave masters doing? I know, hard right on this one. Okay, what were slave masters doing? Not educating, not properly feeding, not properly nurturing the minds in order to keep them under their thumb, because without the parentage, for the lack of a better term, of a slave master, how would a slave be able to clothe themselves, feed themselves, house themselves? They couldn't learn, they couldn't navigate away from the plantation. Now draw the corollaries to the public school system and what they're teaching right now. Yeah, seem a little obvious? In other words, they need to think, dream, grapple with problems and ideas, and make big plans. They don't have that unless we stop filling their schedules with endless rounds of soccer, dance, science clubs, and more. As much as I don't like soccer, okay, and now that the United States dollar is still higher than the euro right now, it's soccer. Deal with it. But even still, okay, young men on sports teams, that creates character, that fosters the bonds. It gives men tribes, which are just overwhelmingly important. It's been minimalized for generations, okay, the importance of a strong male network, because you can't do it alone in this world. I'm unfortunately coming to that sad realization. As much as I'd like to be the lone wolf that's out there, that's just not possible in order to succeed in 2021. 2022, actually. It's 2022. I thought it was 2021 for whatever reason. Anyways, Taking these steps results in young adults who are ahead of the game. Fritz is only one example. Gatto offers us several more from history. If David Farragut could take command of a captured British warship as a preteen, if Thomas Edison could steal the ideas of Nikola Tesla, if Ben Franklin could apprentice himself to a printer at the same age, then put himself through a course of study that would choke a Yale senior today, then there's no telling what your own kid could do. That's a very, very good idea. A very nice, succinct way of saying that the public school system is worthless. You should be educating kids based on what is going to be helpful for them in the future. Okay, fostering the entrepreneurial spirit that is latent in those kids, or then, at worst, at least setting kids up for success. Stop having them memorize facts. Teach them how to learn. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.